So our platform focuses on social issues like trending issues in the digital space through the lens of Christ. We leverage Christianity. Oh, thanks for that share. Love that. So, yeah.
So our goal is to create a more effective way of communication through the devices of social media such as Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, etc., etc.
I love that. I love that. And we are continuing our series on the invisible audience, and today we're going unscripted, just raw, and we're talking about social distraction, right?
Yeah, totally.
You know, now more than ever, we need to develop better ways of engagement on social media.
I agree. That's so right. And to engage more effectively with our community, both in the physical and digital spaces, we need to grow outside of ourselves so that we're more diversely minded towards all communities,
Yes.
politically, socially, and in gender.
I love that. You know, it's just creating a better way of engagement. You know, just a more connected way of engagement.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, and so that's what we're doing. And sorry, I just wanted to change one thing. So let's go ahead and kick this broadcast off, right? And we are happy you guys are tuning in. So if you're just now tuning in, I want you to click share. Share this broadcast out because I guarantee you somebody's going to want to hear it. Todd, good to have you on today, Todd. Todd, click share this broadcast out because we are just about to kick off social distraction. We have some truth bombs laying on you guys, right? It's going to be so meta. No, we're not talking about live right now. Sorry, all right, let's do this. Okay, so as we mentioned, we're continuing our series on the invisible audience. We're talking about social distraction, guys. And, you know, it's no great secret that social media has created created new ways of distraction. You know, from push feeds, Sophie, to post shares, to snap views on Snapchat. You know, technology seems to evolve toward distraction, right?
That's so right. And over time, we have trained ourselves to obey them.
Yeah.
So as we respond to our phones, every time we see a notification from Snapchat,
I know, right?
or a text message, we need to ask, do we own them? Like, do we own our social media and our phones, or do they own us?
That's a good question.
Are we becoming people who love being distracted? I mean, do we depend on these distractions to avoid deep social conversations with our community?
Oh, I love that, and that's right. I mean, do we depend on being distracted? You know, quite a bit, I think, in a way, and we're going to kind of dive into that in a second. And good to have you guys on Periscope Live and Facebook Live, and Sophie, good to have you in the house too. So that was a really good question. You know, do we depend on these distractions to avoid deep social conversations? You know, that's a little scary, right? Having like a real conversation with somebody. So, you know, let's go ahead and talk about that. You know, you might be thinking, how did all this happen? You know, how did all of this happen? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the social issue, okay? And before I go ahead and dive into that, cheers to Sophie. Good to have you on. Welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to the you first-time viewers. Click share and share this broadcast out because here we go, all right? I love Starbucks. So
Me
good.
too.
Okay, so let's explore the social issue. You know, today, more than 2.3 billion people use social media every single day. That is like a lot. And a full 49% of Americans get all of their news on social media.
So that's like 1 in 2 people.
Exactly, good point. So the question is, you know, how has social media become a habit of distraction for so many people? I mean, that's what we're wondering. Yeah, so, you know, the main hook is pretty simple. Social platforms want to create an association. They want to create an association with us. Every time we're bored, you know, every time we have spare time, we have a spare few minutes, not doing anything, right? And there's a lot of wasted time that we have, right?
Yeah.
There really is.
Definitely.
You know, as we continue using social media, psychologically speaking, our boredom becomes painful and more painful. And each time we feel bored, we kind of crave a way out.
Right.
And this is where social media comes in. Social media steps in to leverage those weaknesses and those bored times, and draws us away from ourselves,
Right.
of like who we are and who we're created to be, and how to really allocate our time appropriately. appropriately, social media leverages those weaknesses. And
Right.
it's true. I mean, crazy.
Fun fact,
Yeah.
technology addiction was actually coined a real problem in 2015. Like, it was coined
Wow.
as a real addiction in 2015.
Wow, that's interesting. That's pretty interesting.
And it really just starts out by just spending, every single time you have 5 minutes to spend on your phone, you
Yeah.
start doing that, and then you find yourself doing your phone all the time.
That's a good point. That's a
So,
good point.
how does this happen? Denver asked this question earlier, and I'd like to answer it.
Okay, answer away.
It's all about social triggers.
Ooh, social triggers.
So, the internal trigger is boredom.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
the
Right.
external triggers are the notifications that we get on our
Okay,
phone.
so obviously internal trigger, boredom, right?
Mhm.
But the external are the notifications. Cool.
Right, so you see every time somebody posts something and you get a little social icon on your phone that says, hey, check out this social platform, eventually over time we begin to just start checking our social platforms out
Yeah.
of habit,
That's right.
and we begin to develop a need for being distracted.
Good point. Wow. So, and as this is happening, we begin to realize that this form of distraction can alleviate our boredom, right? It can. It just gets us away from that bored moment, that spare time that we're not doing anything. And just by scrolling, a news feed, just to see what someone's posting, it could be as simple as like what comments. I mean, I see some comments over here. Good to have you. I love those comments. I'm not going to be distracted by those comments though. But hey, I do want you to share this broadcast out right now. Share it out while we're live. Get some people into this conversation. So it could be like looking at what people are going to say, or what they're saying, or who has liked your post. Just those simple things. You know what? I was thinking about this earlier. It's like a virtual slot machine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a virtual slot machine with lots of variability of what we might find. We're just like, ooh, what's happening next? What's happening next? What's happening next? What's happening next? And then we realize that, wow, what is happening here? We're really drawn away from who we are and what our purpose is in life. And we're creating, just a constant state of being distracted.
Oh yes, and that in itself is so crazy.
Yeah,
so
it is.
how does a social platform keep us coming back for more?
That's a good question.
So it's really, really simple. It's through investment.
Investment. Nice.
So investment comes every single time we like something or we add a friend.
Oh, all right. I got that. I got
So
that.
we then load a trigger
Yeah.
in the form of a response by sending someone a message, or by liking someone, giving a heart, or commenting on something.
Nice.
And
Okay.
take a guess what our social platforms get to do.
I give up. We loaded the trigger, right? So
Yeah.
what happens next?
So they get to send us an external trigger, which brings us back by saying, hey, this person replied to something that you were involved with.
Oh.
And it was a message that we prompted originally.
Wow.
So, and it's not our social accounts just spamming us. So it's something that we created for our social platforms to take control. And before we know it, distractions are now the trend in our daily lives.
Oh my gosh. Did you hear that? So it's the two type of triggers. It's the internal and then it's the external. And the external is what social media has created so that we can bring us back, brings us back, keeps us addicted, keeps us attracted, keeps us, wanting and needing that state of distraction, right? That constant crave of what's happening that I don't know about, what am I missing out on in life? And it's that state of mind that social media wants to keep us in, right? Because it's content creation. They're just going to continue to push content to us, and that's how they monetize, and that's how they stay in business. So
And it's all enabled by our own assistance and commitment to that craving, that vicious cycle.
yeah, and we're committing to that. We're committing, assisting, and just wow. Enabling, yes, good point. That is pretty scary. So, all right, so you might be asking right now, okay, that's interesting. Wow, 2.3 billion people, daily active users, internal trigger, external trigger. We really have no say because social media has already developed all these platforms to push notifications to us. So, how do I not allow myself? How do I pivot away from, being distracted? How do I pivot away from this virtual programmed social society of distraction? Well, Let's talk about that. And before we do, if you're on Periscope, share this broadcast out. If you're on Facebook, share this broadcast out. And if you are on YouTube, subscribe to this channel because we are now on YouTube Live. Bible Meets Life. Check it out. It's awesome. All our broadcasts are all populated there, so guys, check that out. Anyway, back to this. How do we pivot away from a programmed society of distraction? Well, it's simple. We realign our investment. We do. We realign our investment, and it's what we call social investing, and it all begins with social visibility. You know, visibility comes through focused listening. Just like I'm here, I'm listening, I'm focused, you know, and through applying the truths about who we are and who we were created to be. You know, that identity thing that we're always talking about is so important.
Definitely.
I mean, we just kind of go back to that every time. Identity, identity, identity. You know, it's the identity factor that allows us to be able to have that focused listening, to see what's valuable around us. And it's also, of course, by leveraging God's Word and the people that God has placed in our lives around us.
Right.
And there's some very important people, just like this person next to me. Very important. I didn't know her very much a year ago or 8 months ago, but I know a lot about her now. And I know more about her, the depth of her, than I do about her favorite color. In fact, I don't even know your favorite color. What's your favorite color?
Pink.
Pink. Okay, see, I didn't even know her middle name. I know her last name. I don't know a lot about her, but I know the most important part, and that is the depth of this girl next to me. And that is what we need to start exploring in our daily lives within ourselves, and then, like I said, with those that God has put around us. Because when we start doing that, then we're able to leverage back that control to get out of that self-destructive pattern of being distracted. You know? Wow.
And I really love that, what you said, social visibility.
Yeah.
We really need to ask ourselves how we gain social visibility if we are always distracted.
Good question.
So I think the first step is really choosing to focus on what and whom is around us. And not only what you're looking at, but the people that you're looking at, people that you're really connecting with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And identifying what we are allowing to cause the distractions in the first place.
What she said just there, that's like the transparency factor with yourself. I mean, that's like self-examination component to all of this, right? It's not just okay, I'll just put my phone down. No. There's like a whole internal component to this, just like that internal trigger, and then just like that external trigger that you guys are launching right now. I see all these external triggers right here happening. I see some sharing, I see some posting. Those are all external. Those are great, right? Because they're adding value to this channel. But what we're talking about is the transparency component to this, right? Yeah.
So, like, for example, when you are alone, when it's just you and our social channels or just you and your phone, who are you, or who are you trying to be when you're on these social media platforms?
Yeah.
What do you do, and where do you put your focus in your time?
Good question.
Like, do you search up racy or inappropriate hashtags? Do you engage in trending rumors or gossip? Or do you watch YouTube videos that create an antisocial behavior?
That's a good point. So, guys, this whole series began on the internal trigger, right? And that is just like liking someone's post.
Right.
But this is the other side of it. This is still an internal component to it, but it's more of a responsive in a way that, okay, so I have this distraction component here. I don't want to be distracted anymore. So where do I put my distraction? Well, let me think. I'll put it into what's trending right now on Twitter. Oh, let's look at this stuff on Vice or on TV. Oh, let's look at this, like, oh, look at all these videos on YouTube. And one thing leads to another, and you're still in a constant state of being distracted, but it's in a negative way.
Right.
It's in a more destructive way because it's content being pushed in you, and you're absorbing it, right?
Right.
Rather than just it being, okay, what am I looking for? what am I looking for? Where's my, who's liking my post?
Intentional.
Right, exactly. That's intentional.
Right.
And it's the opposite of that. And it's scary, and we got to be very careful about that. And hey, good to have you guys on. If you're just now tuning in, we're talking about social distraction. We're talking about internal, external triggers. We're talking about how social media is using the external trigger of like pushing people and drawing people back to our channels to create a constant state of distraction. If you're just now tuning in, click share in the bottom corner. Share this broadcast out because we appreciate that. Somebody's going to want to hear it. And Sophie just asked simply, when we're alone, what are we leveraging in our social channels to get away from being distracted? Are we, what are we doing? What are we putting our focus? Are we searching up like racy, inappropriate hashtags? Are we engaging in like trending rumors or gossip on Facebook? Are we watching videos on YouTube that creates an antisocial behavior? Those things are very destructive, and those are things that we're like seeking after, that are leading to more distraction. Very dangerous, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So, I tell you, too many people that follow these paths, too many people hide in these dark corners of social media just to stay out of the limelight of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like each one of us are like created uniquely. We're awesome. We're a gift to the world and society.
Mm-hmm.
But because we live in this constant state of distraction, we feel that we have to leverage other things like YouTube channels, like, who's trending, what's trending on Twitter, who's liking my posts or talking about me. It's those things that are keeping us in these dark spaces of social media.
Would you say it's because there's a disconnect between the physical world and the digital world?
Absolutely. There's a huge disconnect. Because, this is real. This is kind of real. But when I plug this off and I'm at home at midnight, trolling through my Instagram feed or Facebook or whatever, that is not real, man. And that is what I'm talking about, because that hits the source of your identity.
Right.
And then the next day you wake up, you're leveraging what you went to bed on, what you programmed in your mind.
Yeah.
You're leveraging that in how you operate your lives. And billions of people are doing it. 2.3 billion people are active social media users every day. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about. This happens because people, they refuse and reject social visibility, like you spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm. They don't open their lives to the people that God has created them to be. And they don't open up their lives to the people that God had put in their lives, like you mentioned earlier, people that put in our lives so that we can specifically like be an influence toward, and they can be an influence on us. That's so important. We need to be people, I'm about to fall out of my chair here. We need to be people who invest in the lives around us and not just take away time.
Right.
Because that's what distraction is. It's robbing us away from the time that we have for ourselves and others around us. We need to live the same life we live, we live online as we live offline.
So no disconnect.
No disconnect, right? The conversation I'm having with you and the conversation I'm having with you is the same conversation I'm going to have with the barista downstairs at Starbucks, because that's who I am. That's my character, right? And that's what we need to be doing, because each one of us, we may not be campaigning on social media, but we can campaign on who we've been created to be.
Right.
And what is that? That's your question, right? That's the question you need to be asking yourself. Who am I? What unique qualities build up? It's that atomic design, I have an arm and another arm, I have a head, ears, all these things assembled together create me. And so there's words inside this. That's really how social media looks at each one of us. We're different words. It's like search engine optimization, SEO. We're all these different words, and that's what defined us. It's just living a life of visibility, right? Social visibility. Yeah.
And absolutely, I totally agree with everything that you just said.
Well, thank you.
And I feel like we really need to ask ourselves, is this what I'm doing right now the best use of my time.
Good point.
Because we forget how valuable time is.
It is so
Time
important.
is a currency, like you said in
Yes, that's right.
one of our last.
It's the only currency that matters. I mean, it's God's currency. God has no use for gold, for diamonds. What? I mean, what about that rock? Oh yeah, did you hear about this asteroid that just came across the sky and landed, and it has this like beautiful emerald. It's like, oh my gosh, it's worth like beyond anything. It's unmeasurable. Right? What about that? What about all the unknown awesome things that are in space that are so much more precious? I mean, we monetize all this. We monetize this. This was $2 from Starbucks. Who says this is $2? It's not $2. It's like a penny. It's free. It's $1 billion. It's whatever we say it is, right? And that's what she's talking about. Time is the only valuable currency that truly matters in life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and like I was saying, or what you were saying earlier, as Christians, we're called to make the most of our time because we each have responsibilities and obligations,
That's true, yeah.
whether at home, in ministry, in school, or at the workplace.
Yeah.
We need to prioritize our social time each day by reflecting on God's message for our own lives, by taking time to meditate on Him, and by looking for the valued moments that are all around us.
I love that.
Within our physical space of life.
That's great. You said it right there. I mean, it's reflecting on God's message for our life, and it's taking the time to really just meditate on Him. We want to meditate. We're distracted anyway, right? I mean, so we might as well leverage something that gives back to us, gives back to our heart. And if you guys are just now tuning in, I see a few more viewers. Click share this broadcast out. We have about 3 more minutes and then we're done. So share this broadcast out because somebody's going to want to hear this. It's about social distraction. Guys, we are always being distracted. I mean, constantly. And it's really about the society that social media has created for us to stay in that state of distraction. And then it's like, what are we leveraging to get away from distraction? And how are we spending our time, that alone time? Are we surfing the web? Are we looking for the hashtags? That what's trending on Twitter? Are we searching through YouTube videos? Those are the same things that are like hurting our social platforms and our identity, because they're not really adding to and they're not really what are they not doing?
They're all one-sided. All these interactions are one-sided, and we're not getting anything from them, and we're not giving anyone else anything from them.
There you go. Boom. You nailed it. That's why you're here. So you see, social media can distract us from the real important moments of life. Okay, it can. We know that, right? Each one of you knows that. The importance of simply being present. Just like right here in this moment. It's just being where we are in each moment. I'll tell you, moments are the response to where we invest our time and our visibility.
Right.
Absolutely. It's these moments collectively that show us where we're investing our time and are investing our visibility.
Right.
And it's these moments that allow us to embrace the differences within each other. Yeah. I mean, that's what we need society. I mean, that's what we need nationally, to really embrace our differences. I love this new, I think it's, it might be HP, Hewitt Packard. They have this new ad campaign. It's all about women's rights and equal rights. Okay, so good stuff. And at the very end, it's #balance the equation. I love that.
That's really cool.
Balance the equation. That's what God wants. It's guys, balance the equation in life. I want you to go out and have fun, go out and do things, but balance the equation. Balance the equation on where you appropriate your time with me, Christ, but then with also the people around you, because it's not just random that Sophie Taylor is next to me. No, I mean, she's here for a purpose. And I mean, that's what everyone around us is. They're there for a purpose. So, it's embracing our differences. It's also the appreciation and contentment of where we are and why we're here. Contentment is everything. And contentment leads us away from a life of distraction. Right there. I think we just said it, right? And toward a life of visibility.
Right.
So let me just say that one more time, okay? Because that was kind of like the cheat sheet. That was the final answer of the quiz. all these moments allow us to embrace the differences in each other, the differences in ourselves, because it's okay that everybody in my family is taller than me. No! God, why? But they're all like, even my daughter and my son, I mean, like, they're like my height now. I'm like, oh great. This is not good. I'm so like, but you know what? Whatever, man, because they're not cool as me. I got this personality. I'm awesome. I got a girl here. She's my friend. I mean, I got Amy in the house. I mean, it's all good. It's okay. It's those differences that help me like not be insecure, right? Anyway, it's also it's the appreciation and the contentment with why we're here and why we're doing this. You know, what we're called to do in life, and it's that contentment that leads us away from distraction and toward a life of visibility.
Right.
You know, it's all about living a life of visibility in both our physical space and our social space. And I'm going to tell you something, because I love what Hebrews 4:11 says. You know, Hebrew 4:11 says, labor in rest. Labor to rest in belief. The path of contentment is a path of belief, and the corresponding action to belief is rest.
Right.
Just chill. Don't allow yourself to go, I'm bored. I guess I'm not popular because I feel like I need to be doing something. No, when you rest, you're going to allow yourself to really kind of reflect. It's that internal examination. It's just all those things, and you're going to allow God to reveal who you are and why you're here, what you're doing, and then you're going to be able to leverage that to like make a difference. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything you want to add to all that?
I think people have the wrong idea of boredom. They think boredom is just sitting still, not doing anything, but really
Good
boredom
point.
is a state of unrest and of constantly
Exactly.
clawing for something that we don't have. And I think contentment is such a great word, because it's not necessarily being elated or being underelated about what you have, but it's just really being happy with what you have right now, and not feeling like you have to go out of your way to get something bigger than you, or to get something that is not necessarily what you need right now. Being content with what you have is truly being appreciative of everything that is around you and all the people that are around you.
Yeah.
So I think once we're all content, we're in a place where we are very peaceful, and I think that's the point where we feel like we don't have to try to be something else.
Good point. That's great. And you know, it's not that it's easy. You know, I mean, it's hard to do it on your own. But that's the whole point of God. I mean, to like let Him carry that burden. You know,
Right.
let Him carry that weight. Let Him walk you through that path.
Rest in your faith.
Yeah, rest in your faith, just like that. Just rest in your faith, believing in yourself because He believes in you. You know, it's hard to believe in yourself when you're constantly being distracted by who's following me, who's posting, who's sharing, who's commenting. That doesn't really sound like you're really believing in yourself much, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like you're searching for your identity. And if your identity is in Christ, if your identity is in God, then you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Because it's already there. Like, you're already there.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to look for your identity through someone or something else.
Yeah, definitely not chasing the acceptance of others, chasing the acceptance of, you know, something that social media has created us for, you know, that
Right.
little revolving door where it just, that external trigger, you know, like we spoke about earlier. And if you're just now tuning in, click share. We're all done. Share this broadcast out. We appreciate it. So guys, you know, final word, you already are perfect. I mean, stop. Just stop. I mean, right? Just stop.
Perfection
Just
is
chill.
not something that needs to be achieved.
Yeah, you already are where you need to be. You already are. Just be it. Just live it. Live in the moment. And as you live in that moment, you will find so much value, and that value will elevate you to something that you had no idea was coming at you.
Yeah.
Like what is happening right now? I got Periscope Live, Facebook Live, and a super educated chick next to me, and we're dropping truth bombs. I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know this was going to go. I didn't know what's happening. All I know is that I'm just allowing myself to leverage those in my life to be a external trigger to push back what social media is trying to take over, trying to take away from us. Right? Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm gonna turn up some music. I had a great broadcast.
Yeah, it was really
That was
good.
awesome.
Woo!
She's killer. She's awesome. Guys, by the way, I have a new social word for you. I dropped it on Sophie a moment ago. It's called Meta. M-E-T-A. That's so meta. And what meta means is this. Like, we're live right here on Facebook, right? So, guys, let me talk about how to stream live on Facebook Live. So, when you're streaming live on Facebook Live, so that was so meta because I'm talking about streaming live while I'm streaming live.
Yeah.
That's meta. It's a cool word anyway. It probably won't reach here in Dallas for another 20 years because
Yeah.
we're so slow. No, I'm kidding.
It's a cooler word for irony.
She's so smart. Anyway, guys, alright, well, hey, share this broadcast out. Amy, I'm so happy you tuned in. Guys, so happy you tuned in. You know, turn on notifications so that you guys are always knowing when we're shooting, what's going on, and what's happening because we have some awesome conversations on here, right?
Definitely.
Alright, well, guys, that's it. You know, from our space to yours, have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time on By All Means Live. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
See you guys. Have a good time. See ya. Bye.